Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. We hope you have people joining from all the different places. For those who don't know me, my name is Rodrigo Maroni. I'm a partner and I'm the head of US at Winning. And the subject today is cultural intelligence, which is something that I really love talking about. I'm really passionate, and we've been talking about that a lot to help brands and clients figure out how to be more relevant in culture. And yeah, it could be a new expression for some of you today. So in a moment, I'll explain to you why do we believe this is such an important concept and why you should care about it. And if you're here today, you are already taking your first step. Before anything else, some of the house rules for today's section. Um, Drop the questions in the chat anytime because we're going to round it up and answer it during the Q&A at the end. We'll share today's session and the link to the full report afterwards, so you don't have to screenshot or anything like that. You don't have to take notes. You can just sit back, relax, and enjoy and revisit the magic later at your own time. So yeah, we're going to be driving into the fast lane of cultural content and much more in a bit. And more than anything, thanks for joining. So, hi again, Rodrigo Maroni, head of the US. I've been with Winning for about a year and a half now, helping some of our major global clients figure out how to be more relevant in culture from everything from product innovation, finding out new growth opportunities, executing new brand passion points, campaigns, territories, and even some newsroom activations like we've been doing with ABI that I'm going to show you in a second. But first things first, why do we believe that cultural relevance is such an important topic that deserves us to block a chunk of our time and talk about it together today? Well, it used to be that back in the days, like many, many ages ago, it would be enough for a company to have a great product to win in the marketplace. We can all agree to that, right? Centuries ago. If you just had like something that was better than your competitor, if you had something that was faster or cheaper or better performing, you would pretty much break your competition, stand out, and succeed. Those things are still important. People still want products that function properly and deliver on their promise. But we know that's not maybe enough. It became after that that brand will be the key differentiator. So your emotional codes, your cues, your values, your association became the thing that would help you succeed against your competition. Your provenance, where you're from, who's behind it, your heritage, all those things started to actually become a differentiator that were more important than just product superiority alone. But things change again, and today we all believe culture is where brands are truly winning. Culture became the place where the great brand stories are built. And the great successful stories that we all admire today, all the brands that we actually use as great case studies for how to build a contemporary brand. Spotify, Lego, Liquid Deaths, Duolingo, Red Bull. Those are the brands, some of the few examples. Some are our clients, some are not. Um, but actually, they are the ones we're mentioning as being on the forefront of brand building today. And this is happening all the time. So many of those brands are actually just now breaking through existing categories and surprising competition that even didn't even notice them coming, right? And created billions of dollars in value by just pushing the status quo, breaking through the existing codes of the category, and really win in culture. But the thing is, those examples might be just a few here and there. And you might be thinking, okay, Rodrigo, but what do I have to do with Lego? I'm not Liquid Death, or my company doesn't really know how to behave like a Red Bull. Well, we do believe that every brand should have access to understanding how culture works and should have access to tools that allow them to win in culture. The thing is, brands cannot win this new game with old tools, right? We are all striving to be culturally relevant, but if you're not Red Bull, if you're not Liquid Death, if you're not Duolingo, what are you going to do? You cannot depend on a visionary founder that it's not part of your story. So you need the tools to allow you to get you there. We need new tools to make a difference, and that's where Winning comes. Winning is, as we like to say it, the cultural intelligence platform. We were designed to help brands do just that. Go from cultural oblivion to cultural success, mapping every step of the journey, allowing you to be more proficient in understanding culture and faster at responding to the cultural signs. Not just responding, actually anticipating and predicting what they're going to be and jumping on that before anyone else does. Some of the clients that we work with right now are the world's biggest brands represented across CPG, tech, beauty, pretty much every category you can think of. Some of you, I realize, are represented today, and your peers in other markets can attest those experience working with us. So what it comes down to is that we are this AI-empowered cultural intelligence platform that helps on, in a very simplified way, three fronts. Um, Understanding what's going on, briefing and actually getting things done, and measuring how we succeeded, and allowing to see how we performed with everything we've done, and allowing that to actually retrofit into the whole process and make us even better next time and understanding what's going on. So let's jump right in and talk about each of those three. When we talk about understanding, we really see that there is a major gap in the tools that are out in the market today. Social listening is very limited in helping you act and become culturally relevant. Because the truth is, if you're really chasing trends, you are already too late. You already got to this game at a moment that you cannot do anything. Those brands that I just mentioned before, they are creating those trends. They're anticipating that. They are defining the trends that other brands will want to follow. And that's the space you want to be. You don't want to be in the social listening space. You want to be in the cultural trends and the cultural intelligence place. That's where actually you're going to be positioned to succeed. And this right now, it's the money slide. This explains why this game is so much different than the game that other brands are playing. If you want to take a screenshot right now, do it because it's worthy. What this chart reveals is where the battle for cultural relevance actually happens. It's in UGC. It's in user-generated content. It's not on the brand's channel. So if brands are only looking at what their competitors are doing and they're only paying attention to actually what they're doing and the competition is doing, they're only looking at a very small glimpse of the whole conversation. What people post about brands, it's 7 times, 8 times, 10 times bigger than what brands post about themselves and any given category. So there's a lot of work that brands do into making sure that the content they push it's amazing, it's incredible, and rightfully so. Um, but if you don't actually pay attention to what people are talking about you and your competitors and your category and your cultural context, you're missing the biggest piece of the pie. This is actually getting way many more views, many more engagements, like shares, comments, whatever it is, on everything that's happening. So to win the battle for cultural attention, you have to look at a different place. You have to pay attention on the UGC game first and foremost. It's not enough to just see what you're on doing. All right. Amazing. But now you might be asking yourself, but it's very chaotic out there. It's chaos. How do I make sense of all those conversations? That's actually where we come from. Um, how winning works. So our AI looks at everything that people are posting on all those different social video channels, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, right? We collect the data about those videos and we start to look for similarities. Our AI does that at a massive scale, billions and billions of data points every day, and start to actually create those clusters, starts to group those similar data points together. It groups the videos that are about something. It groups the videos that have likes, views, and shares about something else, and creating those clusters. And then after we actually start to create those groups, it starts to find the correlations, how each of those groups relate to each other. What are the connections? So people that are interested in something, what else are they interested in? We're doing that at a massive scale, 24/7, collecting all this behavioral data to identify what's going on all those different cultures, and what's happening to those brands before anyone pays attention. And By doing that, by collecting, grouping, analyzing all the data and understanding what is going on all those different cultural spaces, we have actually mapped over 600,000 cultural niches so far. And the number grows every day. So every cultural niche you can think of, it's probably already in our tool. And if it's not, we can set it up for your brand. Anything that you can think of, any culture you want to understand real quickly, that's likely off the shelf, and you can get smarter about that with just a few clicks. But if it's not, no problem. We can take care of that. How does it look like? This is an example. So think of, if you like me suffer from seasonal allergies, and I suffer with that a lot, you got to relate to this example. This is how a platform will look like. You get to create a topic, or you can click on existing topic. And once you're there, you can start seeing right there what's going on with that space. What are the creators, the brands that are performing well in that space? What are the keywords, the formats, everything that is being talked about on that cultural topic? And more interestingly, our AI is going to start to reveal all those nuances. What are the sub conversations we call the sub niches or subtopics that are actually making up for the bulk of that conversation? And then you can double click on that subtopic again and get smarter about that subtopic, and so on and so forth. It's pretty much endless how you can get very granular about the culture. And then you can understand the different geographic nuances, demographic nuances, and so on and so forth. Okay, so in a glimpse, in a nutshell, that's the first part. That's how we help people have a better understanding of culture. Second point is, okay, I understand now, I know what's going on in the culture, but how do I actually proceed to get something done without that knowledge? We believe that just knowing isn't enough. We actually want to make sure that our clients, that the brands that work with us act on those cultural signals and gain an advantage that generates growth. So it's also important for us to facilitate that. And we've identified that briefing processes are very slow. Usually it takes a lot of time to just process the information, compile it somewhere else, get a document done, share the document, talk to someone, bring examples. We needed to actually do something about it. And our Zai, by the way, I didn't have a chance to introduce it properly, but Zai is how we call our proprietary AI. Zai comes from the Zeitgeist AI. Zai is actually here to help you get that done. Good briefs now don't have to take weeks. Our AI can actually do that in minutes. So we say we reduce briefing time by 80%. Actually, when we're reducing from weeks to minutes, it's way more than 80%. And not only that, because our AI, when we start working with us, our AI is calibrated specifically to your brand. It learns from your past briefs, it drafts 70%, 80%, 90% of your new briefs automatically with the language that makes sense to your brand, with your tone of voice, with your audience, and so on and so forth. So, and it does that actually by tapping into uncovered cultural opportunities. So it's not just about getting a brief that will be talking about something you already talk about. It's a new brief on a new opportunity. So you double down on that by actually having something that you wouldn't be tapping into in any other situation, and getting that out of the door real quick. So how does it happen? Straight from your brand page, we actually identify our AI again. Zai is 24/7 monitoring what is going on with their cultural space. Sometimes it's a new cultural trend that just popped up, that just improved. Other times it might be that something that was dormant actually just woke up and became huge again. Whatever the case is, it's going to flag to you right from your workspace, right from the first spot on the first page, at the homepage of your workspace. And it's going to offer you the alternative with just one click to generate a brief. One click. You just click on that opportunity, get a little bit smarter about that, make the decision if it's worthy or not, generate the brief, and it goes forward to your dashboard, which is a private dashboard within our workspace, or straight to our creative team. Generates a creative alert, get a request out of the door right away for someone to start acting on that. Isn't that amazing? I think so. And third, okay, we spoke about how to get smarter. We spoke about how to get faster out of the door, but that doesn't mean anything if you don't have the data to prove that everything that you're doing works. The thing is, to prove that this new kind of work really works, the traditional metrics really are unable to cover that. So we develop a new metric to do that we call share of attention. This is a new metric that we're introducing to the market. What is the problem with the current measurement? The status quo really just actually shows you the effort you're making when you're measuring impressions, when you're measuring reach, when you're measuring the volume of search or mentions. That's very surface level. That's very shallow. Those are basically inputs or reactions to the noise. They are definitely non-actionable. There's very little you can do with that, and they have limited depth. So it doesn't really tell you the whole story. It doesn't really help you to act on that, and you don't understand actually the whole range of things that people actually are discussing about the cultural space. So share of attention really measures what people do, not what they say they do. Nothing ever that we have on our platform, it's a result of something we asked people. 100% of the information we work with is information that people volunteer, they generated organically without any prompt. So it's 100% behavioral data. The second great point about it is that share of attention can work with flexible competitive sets. So you might think that you know your competitors until you actually dig into our platform and actually see who is stealing your market share. And sometimes it's not who you thought it was. Sometimes this is actually allowing you to uncover where people are migrating into alternatives before you even have a chance to see that reflected in your Nielsen data or your market share data. It allows you to do a dynamic measurement over time. So you don't actually get to measure your share of attention from the moment you start working with us. We can go back years and tell you the story about how things evolve in your category during that time. So you actually get really smart about what happened and can plan forward based on historical data. It's cross-platform, so we look at every of those platforms in a consolidated way. But if you want to break it down, it's also possible. And perhaps more importantly, it's built for the C-suite. Like you cannot report reaches, number of reach or impressions or volume of search to your CEO. This is not, a serious metric for a CMO. But with share of attention, you start to be able to do that. So you can actually report to your C-level what is the effect of your branding culture with something that actually works for the executive set. How does it look like when you get to work with your workspace? The share of attention shows how it's performing for each of those brands in that space and how your competitors are doing. And more importantly, our AI is explaining to you why it is it. So we have an interpretation of what's been going on with the data over time right at your fingertips without much effort. To prove that this works, we actually run a study that found a direct correlation between share of attention and growth. Our data actually revealed through a synthetic portfolio of the brands that perform well in share of attention that that portfolio would beat the Standard & Poor's 500 by 70% over the course of 3 years, over the course of 4 years, sorry. So it is a really impressive way for you to show how this generates value for a brand. So to cap it off, in summary, those are the three key points. Cultural intelligence is about moving from social listening into actually understanding what's going on in the culture in a predictive and not just purely reactive way. Second, it's about speeding up your creative processes with AI-generated briefs and getting from weeks to just minutes from identifying an opportunity to get that out of the door. And it's about moving into this new metric of share of attention that CEOs can finally appreciate and respect. And when you do everything right, this actually feeds back into the system and gets smarter. So you start from a better point next time over and over and over. So think about working with us, not just as a one-off project, but actually as a recurring model where everything we do actually improves your standing through time. I want to give you one example of how this works. So one quick example. One of our key global partners is AP InBev, and we work with all their global brands Corona, Stella Artois, Budweiser, Michelob Ultra, and many other local brands throughout the world. Earlier this year, you might have heard about Lady Gaga did a huge concert in Rio de Janeiro. And the work from Winnin for Corona behind that was very deep, very comprehensive. I'm going to show you a quick clip where I tell you what it was. So you cannot hear audio, right? So we actually work with Corona across the board all the time. And months ago, we actually start understanding how beach culture, specifically the culture around the beach, not months, we've been doing that for years, apologize. But months ago, we started actually working on understanding specific opportunities for the celebration of 100 years of the brand. Yeah, Corona is 100 years old. And we started, of course, paying attention to what was going on and beaches around the world that Corona could jump in and take part of as part of this big celebration of its birthday. And basically, when we actually started to monitor those opportunities, we've identified the Lady Gaga's largest concert ever will be taking place this year on the iconic Copacabana beach, and that was flagged as an opportunity for Corona to sponsor and partner. This deal was made, and then our work became to make sure that this opportunity was seized as more in the most powerful way. In the weeks leading up to the event, we started to identify dozens of opportunities for Corona to engage in the conversation, specifically then about the concert, about the opportunity. One of those examples, we surprised Lady Gaga fans camping outside her hotel with cold Coronaceros, which turned this moment into a memorable experience that we then amplified through UGC. Net, overall, Corona reached 68% share of attention on this opportunity, which took it way beyond just traditional sponsorship and created this amazingly meaningful connection with fans and left all the brand sponsors of the concert far behind. Again, just to summarize, I hope I gave you a good explanation about how we do and why we do what we do. We are here to help the world's leading brands redefine what it means to be relevant in culture. I hope you enjoyed today. If you want to know more about us, you can download this white paper that really lays out the differences between cultural intelligence and social listening by just clicking on this QR code here with your cell phone and find out more about us. I want to open to questions now and see what you're up to and how can I help you clarify any pressing questions you might have.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Rodrigo. It looks like we have a couple questions in the chat. The first one is, how do marketers typically integrate Xi-generated briefs into existing creative processes?
That is a fantastic question. So we make it really easy for any marketers to really plug and play Xi-generated briefs into their existing processes. Everything in our platform, it's really specific to your brand. So you get your own workspace with your own passwords, and you can choose who has access to that, who can be a editor, who can be a viewer and everything. And then for each specific dashboard that you create, you can set up like a different password and you can share that through email. So basically that information will exist in a dashboard in our own workspace, in our own space. And all the data is going to be clickable. All those videos are going to be watchable. So it makes it a really exciting, visually rich experience to actually see a brief through our dashboards. Again, password protected if you want, public if you're not concerned about security of that specific assignment. It's up to your choice, or even more restricted with just members of our platform. We have different levels of security, but we make it that experience really rich and easy to plug into any of your existing workflows. And again, it's customizable. So if something here really needs to follow a specific way of working, it can be adapted to that.
Amazing. I think we have time for our one last question, which is, how does share of attention differ from traditional metrics like share of voice or even tools like social listening? And what do those business outcomes look like?
That's an amazing question that we love to clarify. Um, let's unpack it a little bit. So for brand tracker, the main difference it's really that we don't go out and about asking people out on the world about what brands they remember, anything like that. This is really spontaneous mentions, organic mentions of a brand. Um, we can actually go much more granular and much more specific, and we are always on. So clients can get access to the data much faster than they would with a brand tracker and in a much more cost-effective way. We can go on a global scale and we can actually click on specific geographies, and that allows clients to actually have way more granularity about this data and with an equal level of confidence. The other difference, which is crucial, is that we are actually category agnostic in the data collection. So when clients want to actually to look into different category sets, it's totally doable. We can change those category sets and look at that and then find out what about your competition. So I would say we're as powerful as a brand tracker, but with many more advantages. When it comes to social listening is much more limited than share of attention because it's only showing you a glimpse of what's happening and the raw number of everything that's going on. It's actually not analyzing that with the depth that our algorithm does and making sure that that information is actionable. It's just a raw collection of data.
Beautiful. I know that we're at time. There's one final question
Okay.
asking about how is it possible to predict cultural behaviors using Winnin intelligence? And are there more examples of Winnin case studies that you can share with us?
There are plenty of case studies we can share. There are plenty of examples that we can show that. Again, because our data can actually go back and predict the behavior of people based on past behavior and and also by correlating some behaviors with different categories or different cultural spaces. There are many ways we can do that. We can create a cultural calendar for your brand. We can look into the behavior of our neighboring category and project how that could apply to your brand. Again, be it through a case study or a white paper, our team is more than ready to just jump in and elaborate on how we can help on all those use cases.
Beautiful. And everyone, please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. We're happy to answer anything else over email as well. And I'll hand it over to Rodrigo to close us out.
Beautiful. Again, everyone, thank you very much for watching us today. Thanks, Monica, for making sure we had everybody here on board and making sure everything worked perfectly. I'm very glad you had the chance to hear a little bit more about Winnin, and I cannot wait to connect with you again in the future. Bye. Have a great afternoon.